Senator Tuberville, you were a
Hey, call me Coach. Call me Coach.
I can't do that. You're a senator. But I do appreciate it. You were a co-sponsor of the Sunshine Protection Act, and that is to make daylight saving time permanent. Lots of people have talked about it for years. You had a lot of bipartisan support, and it passed very quickly. I understand now that there is bipartisan support in the House, but the leadership there is wary of putting it on the agenda right now because of Ukraine, because of inflation, other issues that the public might deem more important. Can you tell me why the Senate decided to move now on this?
Well, it's typical, by the way, when something goes from the Senate to the House or House to the Senate, and there's other things going on in the world and our country. I've noticed we can't chew gum and walk at the same time, and we ought to be able to do that. But that being said, the Sunshine Protection Act from Senator Rubio from Florida, he wrote the bill up a few years ago, and it never got to ground zero. But when I got up here, I started hearing a few of the senators from the Democratic side giving talks, giving speeches on the floor about it. And I'm thinking, we need to look into this. So I kind of chalked up the fire a little bit and got the fire burning, and people started talking about it, thinking about it. And I've always been a proponent of more daylight. Even though they say, well, the kids have to get up a little bit too early, I think the give and take to that would be much better for everybody involved. I think not just for young kids out playing in the yard, parents getting home and it's not dark from work, or having dinner at night and thinking it's a midnight snack, when it's dark outside, and then giving the elderly an opportunity to have more daylight where they can be outside and work in their yards and do things like that. So I've thought to be honest, it was been foolish for us to change it, every few months. And I'm also into the fact that mental health, there's a lot of mental health problems in the winter when it's cold and dark outside. Mm-hmm. So why not give it a try? Why not try it? Why not just have a consistent clock, keep it on daylight savings time, give everybody an extra hour to do something and see how it works. If we don't like it a few years down the road, it doesn't have to be written in stone. We can change it back.
All right. We'll see what happens. At least you're 50% of the way there, right?
That 50%.
All right. Let's talk about Ukraine and the role of the United States. President Biden, as I know you know, is headed to Brussels, Belgium next week. Earlier today, he talked with Chinese President Xi Jinping. And of course, I'm sure earlier this week, you heard President Zelensky's appeal to the United States Congress. Are we doing too much? Are we not doing enough? What should we be doing?
That's $1 million question. I'm on the Armed Services Committee. I've traveled around the world twice in the last year. I've gone to see all of our military bases in Indo-Pacific, in the Middle East. We have problems, but we can correct those problems. I went to Ukraine and had lunch with President Zelensky back in August. He told us then, myself, Lindsey Graham, he said, they're getting ready to come across the border. They're going to try to take our country over. And we said, what help do you need? He said, we need you to put more hardware into our country every time they put somebody on the border. Let's go prepare for it right now. Let's put sanctions on now before they come in. Let's don't lead from behind. So we passed it on down, and I would have hoped that we would have done that, but we didn't do anything. And I think that's the big problem that we've done, that we didn't push this to a confrontation. We just didn't do our best to stop it, because now the cat's out of the bag, and a lot of people are getting killed. President Zelensky is a brave man. He's led his people, but they don't have enough firepower. Even as much as we give them, it's not going to work. They're right there on the border. They got troops in. They're fighting back. I would imagine in the next couple of weeks you're going to see probably a change in the government. I don't know anything concrete. I've heard hearings and been in classified hearings and all those things. I just know, looking from the outside in, they can't sustain this. They can't sustain getting people killed, and Putin now is too far gone in terms of pulling out. He's either going to get reconciliation and peace talks over with and say, it is what it is. He's going to probably get the government changed, and then hopefully he'll pull out and these people can move back. Just think about this. This is the first time in our lifetime that we've seen a war in this world that was not fought in the jungles of, wasn't around cities.
Sure.
Same thing in the Middle East. This is the first time we've seen one country go into another. This country is thriving, got a good economy in Ukraine. The people have homes, businesses, kids, churches, schools. They have friends, they have parties, just like we do here in the United States and in Alabama. And then the next day,
it all
changes, and they have nothing, and they're running for their lives. So I'm hoping this comes to an ending that everybody can work with, but we're to the point right now where the president of Russia, Putin, is not going to back down. He's going to keep going.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you do not believe that President Zelensky will be able to stay in power?
I don't see how he can. They've almost got Kyiv, which is the capital, surrounded. And I don't know whether they want to go in or not. They have yet to cut off all the supply chains, about 90%. When they get it 100% cut off, where are they going to get their food? Where are they going to get their medicines? There's a lot of people still in Kyiv, and somebody's going to have to make a decision. And hopefully peace talks help. We hear that they're talking and visiting about this, but are they going to help? We'll have to wait and see. I hope it comes to a better ending than what it looks like right now. But Zelensky, knowing him, he is going to go to the end with this, and hopefully they make good decisions too, not just the Russians, but also the Ukrainians.
Let's come back to this country. On Thursday, you spoke on the floor of the Senate and what you called the real March Madness. You were referring to biological males who now are being able to compete in the NCAA swimming and diving championship. You see that as just a real violation of the Title IX Act. Where is this going to end? Where do you see this going down the road?
Well, I don't just see it as an attack on Title IX, which I'm a big proponent of, because I've seen it in my business of 40 years of coaching, when it started and what it's done for girls and women's sports. I also see it as an attack on gender and on women. Back years ago, all the feminist groups were on, hey, we got to get Title IX. Girls deserve the same as boys. And I was all on board with that, and it happened. And we went from 3 to 5% of girls in high schools playing sports to 50 to 60%. That's what Title IX did. Better funding for girls' sports. You had to have the same opportunities in girls' sports as they did in the men's sports. Now there's 600% more athletic scholarships coming from high school for girls than there was the time before Title IX. So if we've done anything right in this country,
Title IX was it.
Title IX was it. We built leadership from young girls coming up and being their own person. In sports, is just not something you go play a game. You build with inside, your leadership skills and all those things. And now we turn around, and this Leah Thomas, who's at Penn University, we allow a transgender athlete who 2 years ago was swimming in men's sports to compete in women's sports. And I'm fine with if they want to have transgender sports and all that, but do not cut back on what we have achieved in Title IX. Girls that have worked all their life to have success have to swim against somebody that's bigger, stronger, their heart's bigger, their lungs are bigger, their muscle mass. It is unfair. It's all about fairness. And so it just makes me feel for kids, young girls that have worked all their life to achieve something. And yesterday, this Leah Thomas, won and actually ran away with the event that she competed in. And it's just that my understanding at the event, it was just total silence afterwards, the people in the stands, because you had parents there and people understanding, hey, this is not fair. I mean, it's just that we can't compete against some of these boys.
But where is it going to end? Because as strongly as you feel on this side, there are many on the other side who are saying this is where it needs to be for fairness in another direction.
Yeah, well, I dealt with NCAA all my life, being a head football coach. And I think there's some great things that the NCAA's done, handling team sports, individual sports, Olympic sports, men and women. They've done some good things. This is an area that they've kicked the can down the road. They should have made a decision here of we're not going to pass the buck down the road. We're not going to let individual sports make decisions. We're going to make a decision for Title IX. And if you're a biological boy, then you play in biological sports, men's sports. Or if you're a biological girl, you compete in women's sports. And so they're afraid of lawsuits and all those things. And we're a little bit in a country now that we're on this woke agenda that there's really no gender. Everybody is the same to some degree. And in sports, me knowing the difference and seeing it all my life, there is a difference in the things that you can do as a girl or a guy. And it's God-given. And so I don't know where this is going to go, but it really disappoints me that we don't have a lot more of these feminist groups that were really pushing for Title IX and fairness now are not turning around and doing the same thing against transgender boys participate in women's sports. And I think if it's going to be reconciled, it's going to have to come from women saying enough's enough. We're not going to allow this to happen. And I think you're going to see an uproar about it. I just hope we don't have a lot more of the situations that we've had this past year and transgenders trying to flip over and compete in something that they shouldn't be competing in.
All right, I appreciate your answer. Senate hearings for U.S. Supreme Court nominee Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson scheduled to start Monday morning. Have you met her, and any reaction that you'd like to give about that?
Yeah, the process, if you're on the Judiciary Committee, which does all the hearings, you get the first interview before you start the hearings, which, as you said, will start next Monday. All the rest of us that will have an opportunity to vote for or against will have an opportunity in our office, one-on-one, after next week. So mine will be at least a little over a week away, maybe 2 weeks, but I'm looking forward to sitting down with her and talking about several things. One would be what we just talked about, where she stands on that. I wanted to talk to her about a lot of other different things. I just, I don't like our Supreme Court justice basically saying that we believe that the Constitution believes opposite of what it says. Don't rewrite the Constitution. Everybody's got an opinion, and there's going to be some circumstances that really are not defined in the Constitution, but you can also kind of compare it to the Constitution and other Americans. So I'm anxious to talk to her.
You don't have a preconceived notion?
No. But I've talked to Susan Collins, who talked to her. I think she's going to vote to confirm her, and she really liked her. Lindsey Graham the same way. Chuck Grassley has talked to her.
So that bodes well.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure she'll get confirmed unless things go south in the hearings next week. I've heard only good things about her, so I have no preconceived notions, but I have 4 or 5 things that I want to talk to her about that pertain more to the people here in Alabama, and so we'll discuss those. And
can you give me one example?
Well, farming, things that go along with farming. I want to talk about racism, where she stands on the thoughts of that, because there's been racism all over the world, but not just on racism and gender and color and religion. And I want to see where she stands on that, because there's a lot of things that will come up probably in her tenure that will go along those areas. And everybody's got opinion, but to me, the Supreme Court can bring the people of this country together quicker than anybody by how they do it and how they judge it and how they write their opinions. I think a lot of people listen to that. So I just want to see where she stands.
All right. You, of course, will soon be Alabama's senior senator. And I know that you must be keeping track of the race that's underway right now with the Republican senatorial race. Just as you did in your campaign, so many of these candidates are really doing their level best right now to align themselves with former President Donald Trump. Is that still a wise decision?
Yeah, well, I think you need to give your opinion. I don't think it needs to be a secret. I think you need to come out and express whether you're, and again, I don't think it's as much for President Trump as a person. I think it's more about policy.
They all pretty much name President
Well,
Trump.
they name him, but they also name him because of the policies that he stood for.
Okay.
And I think you can look at several presidents in years past, might not have really understood opinions and how they handle themselves, but you could have gone along with the policies. And I think that's what we all need to do. We look at the policies other than the person, because that's what you have to support. All of them have come to me, every candidate, and Coach, would you
Endorse?
would endorse, and I've told all of them, said, let me look at my calendar here and see when you endorse me. I don't see your name down here anywhere, but I truly believe in a primary, there shouldn't be any endorsement. Go out and earn it on your own. I beat on every door, shook every hand, worked for 2 years to try to get to the job that I'm in. And I think people will understand you better if you do that instead of do it on television or just not doing it personally. Go tell them who you are and why you're doing it and what you believe in. And I think if you are elected, I think it'll make you a better person because you have to listen to them too.
Final question, when we're talking about your job, you, of course, were head coach in the SEC. Everybody knows that's the toughest conference. You have now gotten a year under your belt as a U.S. Senator. Final question, which job has been more difficult?
Oh, my goodness. They're totally different. The job I was in for 40 years was a game. This is not a game. I get up every day knowing that the decision that you make and whether you vote or what you do in a hearing, the people that you talk to try to convince to do something that you really believe in, I think you touch lots of people with the decisions and your votes that you make. And so the difference in college and athletics and coaching, it goes faster. Government runs very slow. You have to listen, and that's what I've done most of my first year is listen, learning from Senator Shelby, some of the other people that I've hooked up to on the Republican side, talked about process, how do you get things done, because it's different. It's totally different, but it's different for anybody. I don't care if you've been a 20-year state legislator here in the state or a football coach. When you go up there to D.C., people got to trust you. They got to understand that you know what you're talking about and you're working to help not just your state but the country. And that's what I've done. And I'm a good listener. I'm starting to speak up more. I like this. A couple of things that we've talked about. I'm very.
I hear passion in your voice.
Yeah, I tell you, I love this country. And I've seen some things that we've done in just this past year that's put us in harm's way of how we've handled it. We could have done it better. Now, at the end of the day, I know being a head coach that when you make a decision, the buck stops with you. And I've watched what we've done by printing $7 trillion and just thrown out of helicopters for the past couple of years. You and I, your grandkids, their grandkids are going to pay that debt. Most people don't know this, but the debt that we have today, every taxpayer has a credit card bill of $258,000. Every one of us, because what debt that we're in and the direction we've gone in the last, not just 3 or 4 years, but the last 10 years of putting our country in harm's way in terms of being broke. And so we all look for ways to get us out of that mess. But at the end of the day, you know what's going to have to happen. We're going to have to pay it back. And how's it done? By taxes. And I hate taxes. I think we all pay enough taxes, but we're spending a lot of money right now in Washington, D.C. that we shouldn't be spending. And we shouldn't be putting people and the American citizen in debt. So, but do I like this job? I don't like it. I love doing it. And it's hard to say that because I like things to happen quicker, but I know at the end of the day, if you do your best and you get a few of these things done, you can help everybody in this state and you can help everybody in the country.
Your goal is to get another W, another win.
Another win. I tell you, like I said, you can win or lose on a Saturday in college football. You might not have but one game in a 6 or 7 month period that you can really make a difference in the federal government. It just goes that slow. But you have to work hard for those 6, 7 months to put your best foot forward. And then you have to sell yourself because people got to believe in you to believe in what you're pushing. So, but I look forward to going back every Monday and being part of it and represent the people of this state.
Well, Senator, Coach Tommy Tuberville, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. Come back.